Please bow your heads and pray with me. Lord, thank you for today and the many blessings you have given us. As we gather here to celebrate a step forward into new places with new people and new experiences, let us not forget the blessings that follow behind us. For this school, which has given us a safe place to learn and a strong foundation to build upon as we take this next step in our lives. For our teachers and faculty who have been committed to providing the best education and loved and cared for us even at our worst. For our families who have cheered us on the finish line and stood by our sides through the many bumps in the road. And on this day especially, we thank you for the friends that we have found among our classmates, for all the memories that we will laugh about in years to come, for the hardships and tears we have endured together side by side, and for your love, which has been made evident through the relationships we will carry with us. I pray that we continue to lay down our lives for each other, just as you gave up your life for all of us. As we celebrate today and close this chapter, I pray that you continue to guide us in the years to come, and that the bonds we have created at this school remain strong despite any distance. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning, and welcome to the 42nd commencement exercises of Franklin Road Academy. This graduation ceremony is both the celebration of the achievements of the class of 2021 and eager expectation for what is to come. Before I share a few remarks, I have some housekeeping details I must attend to. We respectfully ask that you enjoy this ceremony with the dignity with which it is presented. Please silence your cell phones, and we ask that you please refrain from moving around to take photos of your graduates. We have a professional photographer and videographer on hand who will make photos and video available to our families following the ceremony. When we present diplomas, we ask that you applaud but respond with the dignity of the moment. While I am nostalgic when I think about this graduating class, I'm not sad. I am just full of joy when I consider all that you have been through together and all that is to come for the class of 2021. That said, graduates, I am sure your parents will attest, college seemed so far away when you were little, and yet now here we are on the precipice of your next great adventure. Speaking for all of the parents in the room, here we are. It's hard to believe, and yes, we are so proud of you, all of you. We are proud of who you are, the class of 2021, and the lessons that you have learned along the way that have shaped the young men and women you are here today. Before I begin my remarks officially, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our faculty members who have made unparalleled sacrifices and commitments to our senior class this year to make sure they were here together. And I think we need to take a moment to recognize the effort that they've put in for our graduates. Thank you. So last year, I was the parent of two graduates, one here at FRA and one at Washington and Lee. And this year, I'm the parent of another graduate at Columbia, graduating from college. And yet, I am 0 for 3 on graduation ceremonies in person. None of them have taken place. They've just been a name across a screen. Although while last year we did not have a formal conferring of the diploma like this, we did have a fun day of traveling around campus and handing out diplomas on the Weicker Center. And I'm sure the seniors last year enjoyed not having to listen to remarks like these. But yet, it still wasn't normal. This is a significant moment for you and your parents, and it requires a certain level of pomp and circumstance. It is a celebration that marks the formal ending and a new beginning. And I am so thankful we are all here together. It is the way it should be. Yet, I wasn't sure what to say this morning, and I struggled as I considered what to share. I typically don't like to speak unless I feel like I have something valuable to say. And I know that in this day and age, that is a novel concept. I didn't want to be too serious, and yet this has been somewhat of a serious year. Things were harder this year than in much of our lifetimes. You know, when my grandmother was alive, she used to say things like, I walked up the hill to school in the snow with no shoes on both ways. And that was her way of saying that she was tough. And if you knew my grandma Mamie, you knew, yep, she was tough. And if I could, if she were alive today, I would love to be able to say to her, well, Mamie, I ran a school in a global pandemic, in a world of social media and the internet and a 24-hour news cycle when everybody in the world is an expert, during an intense election season and a time of social unrest. And yet, I am guessing my grandma Mamie probably would have held me by the hand and patted it and smiled and smirked and said with her Irish brogue, she would have said, ah, Sean, laddie boy, you don't know what hard is. And you know, I know, because she lived through the first great pandemic in 1918. And I lived with her from the time she was 65 until she was 87. And she never once mentioned it. And believe me, she told a lot of stories. But her stories were not about that. It was not a central theme to her life. Her stories were about her journeys, her experiences, and the people that she met along the way. She talked about breaking her nose playing Irish hurling, or taking a boat to America when she was 19 and coming through Ellis Island, or starting her own business with my grandfather, McCarthy's Bar, and then watching it burn to the ground, and so much more. And in the midst of those stories, she passed on something to me and to my siblings, and it's something I want to share with you, our graduates. And if there's nothing you remember from today, I hope you remember this. Being able to do hard things is important. You know, we have in your classrooms on campus, on these signs, a portrait of a graduate that say, to demonstrate grit and resilience. And you've heard that time and again, but that's a lot of educational lingo. And really what we're saying is, you need to be prepared to do hard things. And this is a concept that is taught at West Point. It's the phrase they use. It's called choosing the harder right thing to do over the easier wrong. It's actually part of the cadet prayer where they say, please God, make us to choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never to be content with a half-truth when the whole truth can be won. But this didn't start at West Point. We see it with Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus sat there in sorrow, about to be crucified. Pretty tough moment. And he said, God, I prefer not to do this, but if it's your will, then I will. So the Savior of the world had to do hard things. Why shouldn't we? You see it again in the parable of the shepherd of the field. When Jesus says, if a shepherd has 100 sheep and he loses one, and what does he do? He doesn't say, oh, I have 99. No. He goes after the one. The God of the universe is telling us how important you are and that he will pursue you and me. That is a harder road to take. That is an inconvenient road. So what is really hard? What is the harder right thing to do? Graduates, there will be moments in your life where a quick decision will be required of you, where you will have to decide what to do. And if you spend time considering in advance, you may choose the harder right thing over the easier wrong. And what is the harder right? Putting the needs of others first. Living a life of integrity and consistency. Listening to people and getting to know them and not judging them. Valuing others and delaying your own gratification. Loving people when they don't love you back. Those are hard things to do. Those are Jesus things to do. I often fear that we have lost that immigrant mentality in our country, the mentality of my grandmother, where we can do hard things and even harder right things, and we can do them with grace without complaining about them. But then this year arrived, and I came to school every day, and I watched you, the class of 2021, and your classmates, and I watched your teachers, and I watched how you did hard things every day, and you did them with grace and with a smile, and you did them joyfully. In fact, you oftentimes handle them better than your parents. If I'm honest, me as a parent, and many parents struggle and often help our kids avoid the hard things to do. We say things like, "It's been so hard on them," though we know these hard things will serve you well in shaping your ability to do harder and more important right things later in your life. So thank you, class of 2021. Thank you for your willingness to do hard things this year and to do them joyfully. And don't stop. God places hard things in your path and our paths for the express purpose to build our capacity to have a greater impact on the world around you. Before you can be trusted with big things, you must be trusted with little ones. And while it sure felt like a big thing this year, I suspect, much like my grandmother, the last 18 months may not carry the magnitude it does today as you move through the rest of your lives. But I am confident God will continue to prepare you for all that is to come, and we will be here cheering you along the way. Because as an educator, I'm confident you're prepared for the exercise of education. I expect your time at FRA is prepared for you to write papers, and it's also prepared you to find your passions. And while you're here, you may have developed the gift of writing, or painting, or singing, or being on stage, or running, or jumping. But I hope we've planted the seeds in your life so that you are prepared to do hard things. I am hopeful that you are ready for the more important challenges that lay ahead because of the things that you have seen and the people that you have encountered here on this campus. And while I acknowledge you as a class today, I have one group that I would like to acknowledge in particular. While all of our seniors are special today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the members of the 12-year club. These are students who have been at FRA from the beginning of their educational experience. I would like to ask them to stand along with their parents. They are accomplished scholars, artists, and athletes who will be attending some of the finest colleges and universities in the country. More importantly, they are friends, loyal and kind to one another. They have welcomed those who have joined their class throughout the years with open arms and encouragement and kindness. The parents of these students made a remarkable commitment to their education by investing in them and by walking by their sides throughout their time at FRA. Our faculty and staff have enjoyed watching them grow into the wonderful young adults they are here today. Thank you for sharing them with us and for giving us the privilege of knowing your precious children for all of these years. Thank you. As I close my remarks, I would like to share a short story. You may remember hearing this. It's a story of the Wedding of Cana with Jesus. And let me set the stage. They run out of wine. And his mother says, "We have no more wine." And Jesus looks at his mother and says, "Why do you involve me? It's not my hour yet to come." And his mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." And nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." And so they filled them to the brim, and the rest is history. The greatest party trick of all time. As you recall the story, we remember a bunch of facts: water, wine, Jesus, a wedding, his mother telling him what to do. But we often miss one important part of the story. When Jesus asked them to fill the jars with water, they didn't just fill them up a little. They didn't put them halfway. They didn't say they were too heavy. They filled them to the brim. They totally went for it. When God calls you to action, fill it to the brim. I have watched you and your classmates do this from time and again, and when you do, it's incredible. I encourage you for the rest of your life, when you're called into an adventure with God, that you fill it to the brim. Invest fully and deeply and see what God does with your willingness to be all in. And so, as you graduate today, I ask that you remember the things that you've learned here on our campus. Remember to be consistently who you are. It is simply easier to live a life of consistency and know that you are loved for exactly who you are. Remember that if it were easy, everybody would do it and everybody would be good. But everybody is not good because everybody is not willing to do hard things. Don't be average. God did not make you that way. He did not make you to fit in. He made you to stand out. And finally, fill it to the brim. When God calls you, go for it. God will multiply your work. Class of 2021, we love you. Godspeed. Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask Paul Sposato, president of the senior class, to make the presentation of the class gift.
If there is one word to describe the class of 2021, it would be social. Whether it be at a sporting event, in the commons, or yes, even in the classroom. We are always found talking and making connections. This year, the opportunity to make connections was made possible by the hard work and countless hours put in by the faculty and staff here at FRA, including but not limited to Mr. Casey, Mr. Salato, Dean Black, and Ms. Backert. In spite of that social attitude, and to say thank you to FRA for making years of socialization possible, the class of 2021 would like to gift a fire pit for the Hill. We hope that this provides years of socializing and community building for all of the future classes that are fortunate enough to call FRA home.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to sing. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly, into the light of the dark black night.
Blackbird singing in the dead of night.
Blackbird fly. into the light of the dark black night. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night.
Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise. You were only waiting for this moment to arise.
It is a tradition at Franklin Road Academy that the commencement addresses be delivered by members of our graduating class, our Salutatorian and Valedictorian. This year's Salutatorian, Alexandra Hallis, has earned many accolades and awards over the past 4 years. A naturally intelligent academician, she has been a devoted learner working diligently toward her goals. She has become an integral part of the Student Ambassador Program, the National Honor Society, the International Robotics Honor Society, co-editor of the yearbook, and captain of the lacrosse team. She has made a lasting impact on the FRA community. Her willingness to take on great challenges and do hard things will serve her well at Wake Forest University this fall. Please welcome Miss Alexandra Hallis.
Good morning. I want to start by thanking the faculties, coaches, family members, and friends that helped each of us get here today, and especially you, the class of 2021. When Mrs. Backer and Coach Salato first told me I was a salutatorian for the class of 2021, I was shocked. I must have sat in silence for a good 30 seconds in disbelief. While I'm honored to be standing here now, I could not believe it in the moment. This is a beyond talented class. Writing this speech was intimidating and nerve-wracking. I wanted to have something meaningful to say to the class of 2021. I looked through our Remember When's in the yearbook and at the theme verse we chose at the end of last year and became incredibly nostalgic. I began reflecting on the past 4 years, especially this last one, and I decided that if I had to describe our class in one word, it would be resilient. We have not had 4 years of smooth sailing. We were off to a good start freshman year, full of hope for our high school experience, even if we were anxious about being the babies of a school once again. Sophomore year went well enough, and junior year started off strong. The pandemic hit us in the spring and wrinkled plans for everyone, but we powered through half a semester of online classes, and senior year came with a hybrid learning model. Though some took advantage of being able to sleep later and Zoom into school, and others hardly missed a day to be in person, this class has overcome the obstacles of being seniors in 2021. Although none of it would have been possible without the administration, faculty, and especially Nurse Georgie, your positive attitudes and resilience allowed for events like football games, prom, and even this commencement to happen. No matter what, we have been a class that shows up and surmounts any obstacle. I am confident this will serve each of us well as we move through life's tests. We have shown ourselves to be a class that is able to rise to the occasion and be leaders. Pope Francis once said, "Although the life of a person is in a land full of thorns and weeds, there is always space in which the good seed can grow. You have to trust God." This class has been given a plethora of situations where trusting in God seems scary or even unwise. But I would implore you to remember to have faith in God and His plan for each of us. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Although none of us could have planned for this pandemic and its repercussions, it has taught us all important lessons in valuing what we have, not taking things for granted, and especially trusting in what God has in store. At the beginning of the year, we met here on the football field, and we were reminded that as seniors, every other grade would be looking up to us. While that may have seemed like a stress-inducing charge in the moment, it is one we have accepted with grace. This year, we have continued to prove our resiliency, this time to a bigger audience. When future FRA classes think about the class of 2021, they won't think of how unfortunate it was that we didn't have a perfect 4 years, because no one does. They will, however, remark upon how we overcame everything thrown our way, no matter how abnormal or even unprecedented it may have been. I am so grateful to have been a part of this class for the last 4 years, and I'm still looking forward to seeing what God has in store for all of us. As we begin our next chapter, we take with us so much more than a strong education. We take with us the experience of what it means to be a part of a compassionate community that knows how to stick together, take care of each other, and overcome. A portion of our theme verse, Corinthians 12:5, talks about supporting each other, and we've carried that out. While our time as students is drawing to a close, I'm so proud to know that every one of us will always be a part of this wonderful family. Congratulations and good luck to the class of 2021.
This year's valedictorian, Caleb Huddleston, personifies academic excellence with a nearly perfect academic record achieved while taking the most rigorous courses available. What really makes this year's valedictorian stand out, though, is his true love of learning. He is certainly innately gifted, but he works diligently and shows passion and genuine curiosity across a variety of disciplines. Caleb strives to be the best, whether it be in the choir, in the innovation lab, or in the classroom. Known for his exceptional intelligence, his maturity, and his generosity of spirit, Caleb will take his talents to Trevecca Nazarene University this fall. Please welcome Mr. Caleb Huddleston.
It might surprise some of you to know that I had been putting off writing this speech for quite a while. Throughout the past few weeks, I've had a number of perfectly good opportunities to sit down for a couple hours and at least plan what I was going to say. Instead, I postponed working on this speech by watching a 5-hour-long YouTube video critiquing the latest seasons of Doctor Who, playing the same level of Portal 2 over and over again in an attempt to speedrun it, and even by cleaning my room unprompted, among other things. In fact, I really just wrote this in a couple of days this week, so you might want to lower your expectations a bit. I guess I thought that by composing something so culminating in nature, I'd finally be conceding to the inevitable fact that this is the end, a notion that I'm not too mentally keen on addressing. I spent the vast majority of my life at FRA, and I do not exaggerate when I say that I could cut off 1 or 2 of my fingers and still be able to count on one hand the number of memories I have from before my time at FRA. This place is home to me, and it's for that reason that I was in no hurry to write something commemorating my own departure. That, and I don't necessarily feel qualified to give a speech so historically tied to the idea of giving one's peers advice for college as a sending-off message. I'm unable to give you all practical and trustworthy advice on how to succeed in college, or how to make friends in college, because, well, I've never actually been to college before. That kind of advice has and will come from far more experienced and reliable sources than myself. So, I suppose the best I can do instead is to give you all advice regarding something that I am somewhat of an expert in: being weird. For those of you who don't know, I'm an inherently very weird person. For instance, earlier in this speech, I could have simply said that I only have 3 or 4 memories from before my, 3 or 4 memories from my childhood before going to FRA. Instead, I made an unnecessarily strange analogy involving severed fingers for the sake of being weird. I may be entirely off my rocker, but I wholeheartedly believe that being weird is vastly underrated. Of course, weirdness often manifests differently for different people, but I think the end result is often the same. It's just fun. I spent a lot of time trying to think of how I could make a convincing and pragmatic argument in favor of the expression of weirdness before realizing how oxymoronic such a pursuit was. I would be trying to rationalize what is by nature irrational for the sake of persuasion. But I think more often than not, at least in my experience, the purpose of my weirdness is just to have fun. Strange and harmless fun. Simple as that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In a world where many of us will move on to work in monotonous jobs requiring us to do the same task day after day, a little fun by means of idiosyncratic behavior might be just what we'd need. Many of the times in which I felt unfettered joy are the product of my friends and I simply being strange, and I know everyone here has the ability to feel a similar sense of happiness by embracing whatever oddities they may possess, of course, in a thoughtful and responsible manner. Weird quirks aren't something to be judged, but a means by which people can experience joy through uniqueness. It encourages me so much to see younger students, especially those in robotics, not being afraid to be weird. I would advise them, and all of us here today, to find what it is that makes you weird, embrace it, and have fun doing so. My final, slightly more conventional piece of advice for the class of 2021 is to not let this be the end of your FRA-related journey. I know a lot of you are probably itching for your shot at freedom and the chance to be rid of Nashville, and I get that, but even if that's the case, you don't have to move on yet from everything that's gotten you here. In reference to the idea of moving on from something, the brilliant biochemist Dr. Gemma Simmons once said, "We don't move on. We hold that place in our heart. We close it off. We lock the door. We visit from time to time. But we don't move on, even after we say goodbye." I would encourage the class of 2021 to not move on. Remember what you've learned here. Treasure the friendships you've made. Stay in touch with the teachers and parents that have changed our lives, even after we say goodbye.
To Board Chairman Cliff Tant and Head of School Sean Casey, I wish to confirm that members of this senior class seated in front of us have met the requirements for graduation as set forth by the Board of Trustees of Franklin Road Academy. At this time, I request that you join me in awarding the members of the class of 2021 their diplomas. To all in attendance, graduation ceremonies are a celebration, and as your graduates walk across the stage, we welcome your applause. However, I would ask that you celebrate with reverence appropriate for this occasion and this space, and that you be considerate of the next person in line. Caleb J. Huddleston. Alexandra Aaron Hallis. Bradford Hayes Dalton. Gonzalo de Gracia. Paul Gabriel Spasato. Miles Daniel Adams. Georgia Grace Austin. Erin Michelle Betty. Michael Warwick Blackburn. William David Brom. Harris Stansel Brim. Brooke Ashley Broussard. Ethan Alexander Brown. Aiden Alexander Carey Call. Addison Lee Carroll. Campbell Grace Carroll. Thomas Putnam Cartilia. Van Ernest Christian III. Jackson Ryan Comiskey. Ryan Alexander Dalton. Thomas Stanley Daniels. Gavin Alistair Dawson. David Neil DeRocher. Emma Catherine Flagel. Amelia Rose Fox. Emily Ashley Gardner. Kaylee Alexandra Gentry. Grace Lavinia Gills. Cole Duke Glotzer. Jada Marie Iman Greer. Spencer Davis Guy. Ava Victoria Haygood. Caitlin Marie Harnan. Garrison Avi Lavelle Harold. Sophia Christine Hart. Iris McCall Heldman. Taylor Jennings Hillenmeyer Jr. Isa Alec Holt. Jessica Delight Huddleston. William Weekly Johnson IV. Anna Elizabeth Kaiser. David Gist Key Jr. William Todd Maggart. Olivia Reeves Mackey. Sophia Marie Matisich. Isabel Kelly Matthews. Christopher Miller Howard May. Ava Fontaine McGinty. Parker Leslie Meeks. Alexander John Mick. Connor Blair Moore. Elizabeth Reese Moore. Thomas Nash Murphy. Erin Elizabeth Nash. Jack Landon Norris. Alexander Thomas Pardue. Hunter Grace Peterson. Timothy John Pinkston. Tsunami Laine Rodriguez Polito. Robert DeWitt Reinecke. William J. Roberts. Eli Murray Roddy. Lucas Adrian Rodriguez. Joshua William Rorick. Kalia Sanders. Aaron Michael Shearbaum. Kayla Yvonne Scott. Elena Estefania Enright Shepherd. Wake Edward Charles Sizemore. Owen Alexander Smith. Taylor Lynn Smith. Allison Michelle Sokoloff. Courtney Alexandria Solomon. Alex Catherine Taylor. Maddox Miriam Telwar. Stephen Edward Vickers IV. Elijah Ryan Warwicks. Madeline Grace Whiter.
Franklin Road Academy class of 2021. I charge you to enter the next arena of your lives with courage and humility, and the hope that you will honor God in all that you do and you say. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the graduates of the class of 2021. Yep. I would ask the class to please rise and everyone to remain standing for the benediction.
Please pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and everything that you've given us. Thank you for this senior class and how we have navigated a difficult year with such grace. Thank you for our parents and grandparents who have invested so much in us. Please guide us as we enter a new phase of life. And lastly, thank you for FRA and how our teachers and administrators have prepared us for the real world. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
My bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, 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 come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't need control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off of it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop, stop, stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when